Welcome back to DPRK Athletics. My name is Yanggakdo Hotel, and as the title states, I was one of the very first tourists to go to the DPRK after the death of the second most recent leader, Kim Jong Il. So I'm going to show you video that I took of the tour in 2012. This is the first time that this video has been posted to the internet for the public to see. The most remarkable thing about the tour is that it was right during that transition of power. So Kim Jong Il died in December of 2011, and Kim Jong Un came to power almost immediately after that. And they paused tours for a brief time, but then for Kim Jong Il's birthday, the very first birthday after his death, they actually resumed tours in the DPRK, and I was on one of those first tours to go into the DPRK. So without further ado, let's start the video. So as you can see, this is at Beijing Airport. This is where a lot of people will start their tour to the DPRK. It's not super remarkable, but it's cool that we got to ride on one of the Air Koryo jets, and this is already in Pyongyang. So for a little bit of context, when I went to the DPRK, I was about 20 years old. I was a university student studying at the University of Graz at the time in Austria. And I was really just only kind of had this Western perception of the DPRK. You know, at the time, there wasn't as much just kind of available on the internet to kind of read and see about the country. And I'd always got kind of an interest in communist history countries. So during the school break, I took a trip to Moscow in Russia. And then I went to Mongolia, and I went to China, and then after that I went to the DPRK. So it was kind of getting to see this whole communist history, which I really wasn't privy to. And the DPRK left the biggest impression on me, easily. And so yeah, when I got off of the plane here in Pyongyang, it really hit me that the dictatorship and everything in the DPRK was real. I mean, I think you kind of have a cognizance of it existing, you know, when you're outside of the country, but I think like once I got off of the plane and I saw these two huge images of Kim Jong Il and Kim Il-sung, you know, at the airport, which this is actually the old airport. They built a newer one, I think, within the past 10 to 15 years. It was just seeing those images kind of like hanging over you and having this whole atmosphere where it was like they held all of the power and the control. I think what was depicted to me in the West is kind of like this joke regime, you know, where it's not supposed to be taken seriously. And then all of a sudden you see it on the ground in reality being the most serious thing, like right in front of your eyes. You know, for a young 20-year-old person like me who hadn't really been exposed to a lot of Eastern regimes or communist regimes or dictatorship regimes, it was really kind of an eye-opening moment for me. You know, I'll always remember getting off of the plane in Pyongyang and looking at those photographs and looking at those portraits and kind of realizing like, wow, this is real. Anyway, this is the movie theater. As we got off the first day, we got to go out here in the main square, and we got to kind of look at the like Arch of Victory and all of the big monuments. The movie theater was a bit interesting. You could see they're selling satang. They're selling candy there, and gun-goguma. They're selling like baked sweet potato. It's very very Korean. There's the Cholima Monument. As you can see, and there's a lot of those red flowers, which is Kim Jong Il, which is kind of commemorating the remembrance of Kim Jong Il the first year after he died. Here's a bus, you know, just kind of looking at people on the bus. And, you know, it was snowing. It was super cold. I cannot communicate to you how cold it was simply because like there's almost no heating. I mean, like in the hotel there would be heating, but then like in the museums and everywhere else and in the bus there was heating. But like everywhere else you went, there was just no heating whatsoever. And that really kind of made it colder than it would be otherwise in other countries where there's heating, you know. And that says Ilshim Dangyo, that's like one heart, one mind, all the people are together. And as you can see, they were putting, even though it's the middle of February, they were decorating flowers just everywhere around the capital. So it was just amazing kind of being there on the ground, looking at everything for the first time. Seeing all the people go about their daily lives as if everything was normal. So yeah, there's the Cholima monument that was built in the 60s, I believe, to kind of, or it was about the movement that went in the 60s. I'm not sure when it was built, but that kind of commemorated the fast speed with which the country recovered from the Fatherland Liberation War, or the Korean War, whatever you might want to call it. Here is Kim Il-sung Stadium. That was that's where basically everything where most of the sporting events are held. And I think we're going to get to have a look at the, as you can see, they've got the table tennis, they've got kind of boxing, they've got monuments to all of the sports there right outside of Kim Il-sung Stadium, which is very cool. And then the Workers' Party of Korea flags, and there was even some kids, sledding in the area. And yes, this is the big commemoration to Kim Il-sung's first speech after Korea was liberated when he came there. Now, of course, this is not actually how it went down. He was surrounded by Soviet officials and other people who were going to be in his government, but in the official versions that they edited later on, Kim Il-sung is always, alone speaking. Another cool thing was that roller skating was really popular. I mean, I have other footage of it later as well, where there's just lots of people roller skating. And there's a big market out there with all these individual stalls, mostly selling small foods and snacks and things like that, as far as I could tell. And it's very similar to the ROK, because if you go to like traditional markets in the ROK or things like that. That says 청량 음료. That means it sells soft drinks. So basically, it's a very Korean cultural thing to kind of see all those stands selling everything outside. It's not just like a super DPRK thing specifically. So yeah, this is basically a statement from Kim Il-sung about the founding of the nation. I'm sure you can, even if you don't speak Korean, you can kind of Google translate that if you wish. With this, I'm not aiming to be kind of super specific about everything that I see. I think that there's a lot to unpack and analyze. It's just kind of more of like my impressions and like what I understand, almost 13 years later, looking back on this footage now. And the amount of flowers that they really, they call it 장식, put on everything is amazing. Also, this is the big Ryugyong Hotel. This is the Hotel of Doom that was never finished. At the time, they had put glass paneling on the outside of it, and actually, I know that the tour groups, I know that some foreigners were allowed to go inside and look at it. It looks like they were actually going to complete this hotel, but they actually never ended up completing it and simply put a big video board on it after that. But at this time, it was still just all glass, but it wasn't the ugly concrete, bare concrete that was there previously. So it was kind of in a middle transitioning stage. As you can see on this building, it says the great leader Kim Jong Il. Long live the revolutionary mindset of the great leader Kim Jong Il. That says revolution. I think it says reunify the country, and then I think that there's something about the Three Revolutions team movement, which happened in the 1970s. Yeah, so it's like independence, self-reliance, and self-defense is what it says on the top of that building. And the reason that I am kind of translating is because at the time I was like, oh, I wish I could read that building. Oh, I wish I could read, this. So it's cool to see. That says Ilshim Namgyal again. That's just kind of all is one, all for one for all type thing, unity. So the this says the loved and respected Kim Jong Il general, we will defend with our lives. Basically. So yeah, the great and respected Kim Jong Il, we will defend with our lives, is what that says. So all of the propaganda, it's still very much Kim Jong Il, Kim Il-sung. The Kim Jong Un had almost not even come out yet. I mean, it had only been 3 months since he had taken power. So all the slogans were still very much in the Kim Jong Il Songun era. And this says, the great leader Kim Il-sung is always with us together. So this was posted on the front page of Rodong Shinmun after he died as well. So basically it's just kind of saying that, like, even though the leader is dead, like, the spirit of the leader kind of continues to guide the nation. And then Yusan and Hipbeat Balgara. So, like, kind of two of the more recent motion pictures that had been made at that time. Kind of after Kim Jong Il died, the motion picture industry kind of almost disappeared. Things kind of shifted more towards television production. So we kind of got to see the last gasp of how important that was. This says to be a powerful and strong nation in the year 2012. So everything is propaganda. You very, very rarely see advertisements for anything in the DPRK at this point, and this is just kind of interesting to see the everyday life again. It's about to hit dusk, and they do have some lights out for the celebration, and you can see some of the buses there. You can see the different types of buildings. Really, there is a limited metro line in Pyongyang, but it's only 2 lines that they made in the 70s, and really the whole country is very reliant upon these electric buses, or at least was at this time. This is Pyongyang at night. I think the biggest thing about Pyongyang at night at that time is that power was insufficient. So really, it was very dark. There were some areas that were very well lit. The areas that were well lit kind of had more to do with the ceremonial importance, I would say. But then there were a lot of other areas where there was just very little light at all. Now, I don't think that this is the case anymore. I think it's actually much more well powered, and there's like a lot more lights. It's a lot more glitzy. But back in 2012. It was still a very dark city. So we were staying at the Yanggakdo Hotel, as you can see. So we were basically in the middle of the river on the island. So there, you kind of had to see everything from a distance, and you were really separated from the daily life in Pyongyang. So if anyone is able to go to the DPRK and they're watching this, I would really not recommend going to the Yanggakdo. It's fine for a hotel, but you're really not going to get any idea of what daily life is like for people in the DPRK if you stay there. I think staying at Haebangsan Hotel or somewhere like that, even Sosan Hotel is not very good because it's also a little bit of a ways away from like the actual beating heart of Pyongyang, I would say. So this is the cables that they had behind the telephones, or behind the radio, and there really was a huge mess of cables. People always say that's there to spy on people. It may be, but I mean, who cares if they are spying on you? I mean, what are they going, like, what could you have of interest that they would want to know? But, you know, I'll leave it up to your judgment as whether that was spying on people at all. And so, yeah, the propaganda was still all very much Kim Jong Il centered. They would just have photographs of him in the hotel lobby and things like that. And at the time, Kim Jong Il looking at things on Tumblr was very popular. So for me to kind of see Kim Jong Il looking at things in real life was very cool for me. And so, yeah, we don't really need to see. Oh, and there's him with Bill Clinton. But yeah, we don't really need to see a lot of these. Okay, so here is the shop. It's called Mede, and it's open from 9 to 9. They did not let me film in here, but I did get a very short look with the video camera on like what they were selling, and it was really just a lot of, you know, like essential foods that you might, essential supplies you might need, or an umbrella. You know, it's a useful travel tourist shop, and then cigarettes, obviously. And then this is interesting. This is the Chinese casino that they run in the basement. And yeah, I managed, there was no filming allowed in there, but I managed to get this short shot of the Chinese casino. Absolutely nobody was down there while we were there. There were some Chinese casino employees working, but they would not let you gamble or play cards with your friends up in the main lobby, which is what we did, and they would shut down the gambling games that we played with other tourists, where we just gambled small amounts of money with cards, because there were some card enthusiasts with us. This is the kind of food that you get. It's very extravagant. I mean, you've got kimchi, you've got a salad, you've got guksu, and I mean, that's a meal in itself. And you've got some kalmesan water. They give you bottled water, obviously, because the tap water is not safe there. And then, there's rice, and there's some chun, which is kind of like a fried thing, and then you've got more like meat. So it's really a multi-course, fancy Korean meal, and they always serve you very high-quality food on these tours, so you get a really good impression of what North Korean dishes are like. That night, this was imported from Indonesia, imported by Malaysia, and it's from Japan. So it's like actually a Japanese drink meant for Malaysia, but was brought into the DPRK, and that's what would happen with a lot of foods. You'd have like a Coca-Cola, but it would be like meant for Vietnam or something like that, or you'd have Heineken. I mean, they had foreign brands, but generally they came through a middleman, through kind of another country. And an interesting thing here is I got to try some of the potato chips. They tasted absolutely horrible. I've never had a worse potato chip in my life. I think that their manufacturing quality of packaged foods has improved a lot since then, but all of us were just like, this tastes like wet, soggy, nothing. Unfortunately, I did not drink beer at the time. I did not drink up until I was like 25 or 26, so can't really comment on any of the alcohol or cigarettes that happened on this trip. And then this is myeontae, or this is kind of the dried fish that you eat while with a drinking snack. And I think that was my first time having it. It was pretty good. And then this is peach. This is peach soda, which to me looked really green and radioactive. I mean, I've never seen a soda that shade of green before, but I really liked it. I think I had several bottles of this at the time. As you can see, that nice crazy green color it comes out with. And yeah, this is what I was talking about, really, the Pyongyang night just looking so dark at this time. And so I'll just kind of do a food roundup at this point, just to kind of show you some of the other food dishes, because I don't have any more video of food. But this is a nice candy that I got to eat. It was the toughest gummy that I had ever had in my life, but it was very tasty, very nice gummy. So I don't know why I had my laptop out during the flight, but this is the meal that I got on the Air Koryo. We didn't get the crazy burgers, but yeah, it was interesting. I don't think I touched any of it because the food was kind of unfamiliar to me at the time, and I just didn't have the taste for it. But it's not as bad as you'd think, really. I mean, I think that's kind of on par of what you would get with Korean Air, even the ROK airline. So, and once again, here's a can of Sprites, so you can see that they do have Western products available for you to eat. I think that that was just kind of the logo of Sprite at the time. This is actually dangogi, or I think this is boshintang in the south, but I'm not sure what they call it in the north. This is actually dog soup, which they offered to us at Kaesong, so really extravagant meal. Only about half of the tour ate the dog soup because Westerners and a lot of people nowadays are against eating dog, but I really enjoyed it. It was like dark turkey meat. I enjoyed the experience, and the dishes out here are all very varied. Like at the time, again, I didn't have like the real taste for this. It was just all too strange to me, but looking back, I mean, that now I find that like really delicious now that I eat Korean food every day. And the grilling that you do at the table in the DPRK is also fantastic. They really, it's not as the taste is not as arresting as in the ROK. I would say that the taste is actually a little bit lighter, but you can get just some amazing grilled foods. I think that this was the duck. The duck was just absolutely divine. I really recommend going to a grill restaurant or any kind of barbecue when you are in Pyongyang. Oh, and here is the dog soup, like before I ate it, so you can kind of see what it looked like. And this is another image of the grilling, just absolutely fantastic, delicious food, the really juicy cabbage that goes along with it as well. Okay, so we're back to the video. Now, this is the next day. As you can see, the Taedong or the Taedong River is completely frozen over. I mean, which was amazing. As you can see in the distance there, that's the sport village at the far end of the island. So there's the all the sport facilities where the Kikwancha, or the Ministry of Railways team, that's where they do all their training, and they're one of the bigger sport teams. But there was some construction going on, and amazingly, the whole river was frozen over, so people would just be walking across the river. I mean, there was some fishing going on, there was some walking going on. It really was just kind of seen. It was just kind of seen like, oh well, it's easier to do that than go all the way over to the bridge. So they would just walk. Yeah, and so, as you can see, like people just straight up walking across the river because it is frozen solid. I've lived in Seoul, which is quite a bit to the south of Pyongyang, for many years now, and I've never seen this happen in Seoul on the Han River. So this is a DPRK special that you're witnessing right now. And I can only imagine how difficult it is to be walking in those cold conditions across the river every single day, because the wind really whips up across the river, so very difficult to do. And then there's the May 1st Stadium. I think that was the biggest stadium in the world at that time. I think it's been it's been knocked down a few stages. Knocked down a few places since then. Oh, and here's the breakfast. You get eggs and some bread. And I heard that the Eggman actually his station caught on fire once, but they will make an egg for you. And this is just, lots of different vegetables and varieties. There you can see there's some different types of meats, potatoes, rice, the typical thing. Here's another image of Kim Il-sung where this whole image just centers around him. What they told me was unique about this is no matter where you go, Kim Il-sung will be looking at you straight on. So that's what's remarkable about this image. So this is the Fatherland Liberation War Museum. This actually has been updated and renovated since I took this. So this is kind of some exclusive footage of what it used to look like. As you can see, it was still very well kept. But I think compared to today, today it really looks modern and more kind of engaging to the viewer, whereas here it's a little bit more stale and a little bit more academic. Not so academic, but kind of like just stuffy. And they give you a big, long, boring lecture about the war. I really did not understand what was going, or anything about the Korean War at the time. I wasn't taught about it in school, so I actually learned the DPRK version of the war first. And I actually thought that the South attacked the North initially, but eventually I learned that it was obviously the North attacking the South first, and there are the receipts on that, although the South would have attacked the North if they had the U.S.'s support. So that's neither here nor there. I'm not really one to stick into political issues, but here this is all about the defeat of the United States and how the DPRK did it, and really kind of showing the victory of the military more than anything else, and showing how many enemy equipments they were able to capture and acquire, and all kinds of stuff like that. And and then they have shot down planes and things like that, and it's to me it was just like a museum of antiques. I mean, it's supposed to show you the power of the country, but since 50 or 60 years had passed since the war at that point, it really kind of felt more like an antique museum than it did impress upon the viewer of how powerful the DPRK was. And of course, they have a small section to the Pueblo, the USS Pueblo incident, where basically a U.S. ship went into DPRK waters, and I think here's the thing about shooting down a U.S. Helicopter that went into DPRK airspace, and then they take the person prisoner, the person apologizes, and eventually they give the prisoner back. So, if you want to read more about those incidents, you can. This was really cool. This is a big like panorama exhibit type of thing that they were showing. It had like some of it was a painting, but then some of it was actually like in the foreground that you could see. So like that tank is real, but then like behind it is like a painting, and it's all very atmospheric. It's really interesting to kind of see that in person. I think this is one of those things that you kind of just have to see in person to really appreciate. And then one thing that you kind of note about things like this is that whenever they show U.S. soldiers, they have very long noses, and they're always like cowering, and just it's almost like a little bit of a racist depiction. But and then they've got the like Korean soldiers standing over him, triumphant and happy, and you'll see images like this all the time in the DPRK. And then there's the ceiling. I mean, they even went to the trouble of putting this big red star up on the ceiling for the army. So, and then there's some footage of kids fighting. That was kind of interesting to see. And then you've got a bunch of more military-related monuments. They really built so many monuments in the capital of Pyongyang. I mean, I don't think that any city, except for maybe like Moscow, has the same amount of just grandiose monuments. Even in former socialist countries, it was just amazing. And so there's a better view of the Yanggakdo Hotel kind of at the time, and you can see what I'm talking about. It had the glass paneling, so it looked updated, but inside it was still an unrenovated skeleton, and they weren't able to save it, so eventually it just became a big video board. So this is Mangyongdae. This is where Kim Il-sung was supposedly born in the propaganda, but according to historical records, this was not the case. I think more so than like the propaganda of the leader, going to Mangyongdae is important so that you can kind of like you can see like how people lived at the time. Like this is how Koreans lived during the early part of the 20th century, and these are the tools that they used. I mean, it's idealized, it's sanitized, but it's also very it's educational. And this is from Mangyongdae. This is kind of the view that you get across Pyongyang. It's a little bit, that's the Koryo Hotel, which I know experienced a fire at some point. I've never been in there, sadly. And then you can see that there's lots of farmland and things like that around Pyongyang, and it's, there's a lot more to the city than just the big monuments in the center. A huge factory, as you can see there. And so, there's a big, and so there's lots of rocks and monuments. We are happy. I think that this is near the Pyongyang Music School. And so here we come upon probably the most unique and interesting part of my tour compared to others was this is where people were paying respect to Kim Jong Il, and they would all line up and bow to his portrait at various places throughout Pyongyang, and even we were required to do that. So I think everybody is walking there to kind of pay their respects. I don't know if it was mandatory or whether people kind of did it for social clout or whatever, but there would also be a woman or a propaganda announcer standing next to the portrait, kind of telling people what to do or why they were doing it, and right there in the cold. So it was that was definitely a huge sight to behold. Yeah, you could just see the huge amount of people lining up to pay their respects to Kim Jong Il. Just absolutely amazing. And filming out the window was fun to do because you got to just see so much of the daily Pyongyang life. it's not anything that's going to blow your mind. This is, I think, the Revolutionary Martyrs Cemetery, and that's a rare footage of soldiers. Officially, we're not supposed to take footage of soldiers, but they happened to get in frame at that time. And they were going to pay their respects, I believe, to the Revolutionary Martyrs. There is some of the monuments that you'll see there, kind of just revolutionaries. And you see the big, and you see lots of people. It would be nice if someone was able to go through and kind of take photographs of all of these graves. A lot of the information as to who is here is not really publicly available on the internet, so that's something for future generations to do. But yeah, as you can see, just lots of bronze busts of people. You could tell how they really laud their revolutionary history. These people were on their way to a military parade where Kim Jong Un was actually. We were not allowed to go to the military parade. They generally don't allow tourists to go to these things, but it was they were all waving to the bus, so that was interesting. You can see that they're lining up. We'll have footage of them on the news later. And there was actually a band practicing. I'm not sure what they were practicing for specifically, but it was cool to see the band practice outside. There's more people buying candy. And so there's another instance of people lining up to pay their respects to Kim Jong Il. This was his birthday, the first birthday after his death. This is the woman actually opening the ice skating festival. So I wanted to pull up this picture because at the ice skating festival I saw one of the craziest things that I've ever seen in the DPRK. So as we were going into the ice skating festival, the entrance was officially closed, but then they opened it for our tour group because we all had tickets and we were just coming in, I think, right as it was starting. And then as the doors opened and we got through, a huge amount of people came in behind us and all just rushed in. So there was this huge amount of, I would say, maybe like 100 people from the DPRK who were pushing to get in, even though that they were trying to close the door. And so eventually they had to have two people like run up to the door and force it closed and then put a board on it so that no more people could get in. So that was probably the most disorder I've ever seen in the DPRK, but it kind of follows this principle, which I think a lot of people from the ROK or people from the South have told me. It's that if it's kind of an Eastern thing, like if everybody is breaking the rule, then it's okay to break the rule. So I think that it was just kind of a case of like, no one, if a whole bunch of people are running in, then no one's going to prosecute them. So they really wanted to see this show, and it was really a huge, big, important event, and I'll show you why. So at this event, you actually had, you had some DPRK skaters. Some of them are in the upper tiers of world skating, but they're not like, they've never had like an amazing a contingent. And then it says Kim Il-sung is with us forever, but then those flowers are the symbol of Kim Jong Il above. That is the Kim Jong-ilia flower. And this is the 21st Baekdusan Prize International Figure Skating Festival. What's remarkable about this is that they have skaters from outside the DPRK playing, and this is here's the scoreboard. It was made in DPR Korea, as you can see. So they had this Russian skater who I believe I had seen him at the Olympics before this. I know that he was very, very well regarded. I forgot his name. I'm not like a huge skating fan, but I'm sure if you're a figure skating fan, you know who he is. So it was really a big event that they were going to bring in foreign skaters for it. And I've seen figure skating on Mansudae television while I was in a hotel in Pyongyang 5 years later. So figure skating was very big, and it's kind of, this was really Kim Jong Il's legacy. Is he loved the shows, he loved the figure skating, and I don't think that it's been as popular since. I think that I don't know if they hold these figure skating competitions on the day of Kim Il-sung's, or because I don't think that they celebrate Kim Jong Il's birthday really to the extent that they used to. They don't even call it Gwangmyeong Songchol anymore. They call it kind of the February holiday. But yeah, I'll post this in full at some point. And so there you have the DPRK couple. I think you had, I think this pair was from France, I believe. And they were all very talented. You know, I'm not really going to sit here and focus on it, but you could just kind of see that we were in for a world-class show. And yes, this was another foreign pair that they had, and I think they were doing some sort of really, I don't know, some modern Western song, which was surprising for us to see. But it's not really culturally dangerous, I guess, because it's like considered like a foreign thing. Oh yeah, so there's the logo for the thing, which was rare to see, the Pyongyang Baekdusan Prize. And this is, I think this was a Chinese team, actually. And, you know, as always with the DPRK, they love to have huge teams, huge amounts of athletes for big shows going on all at once. So we got to see this kind of medley at the very end. And all the skaters came on, you know, to bow, and there was someone there with a big Russian flag. So it was, again, a very cool experience. And so this is the Pyongyang Circus. It's a little bit of a smaller thing, but I know that in the ROK they call circus sokosu, but in the DPRK they call it kyoye, which is more like acrobatics. But in English they still call it circus. There weren't any animals, I don't remember, but I think that it's really focused more on kind of acrobatics that people can do. And I know that they revived it at some point. I think it's kind of like in a Soviet tradition, but I'm not sure. At the beginning and the end, there were political demonstrations. This one didn't have any foreign athletes, but it was still very amazing performance. I was really wowed at what people were able to do. And this huge political aspect of it really shocked me at the time. I was just like, wow, like really nothing can escape politics. You know, you're here to see some circus acts, but you know, it's the politics cannot be separated from the circus. And yeah, here's kind of an example of what you would see: people flying in the air. Even the shadows are impressive. More people flying in the air. I gotta show the coolest thing, I think, was the women who balanced balls on their feet and were able to juggle. Yeah, and then when this woman bounced this ball all the way up, just holding it with her feet while upside down. I mean, it's really remarkable what the human body can do if it's trained. So yeah, I mean, that is very cool. And they even played basketball. Amazing, no? And then we even got to see a comedy show. I mean, we didn't understand any of it. I don't think anyone on the tour really spoke Korean very well. But I would love to, going back on it, it's interesting to take a look at, but it's very colloquial and the audio isn't very good, so I couldn't make out too much of it. But DPRK comedy, it's a thing. And then this, artistic swimming. I actually did see artistic swimming, which is funny because as viewers of this channel know, I covered artistic swimming at the 2025 World Aquatics Championships where the DPRK was there. But this was really more of artistic swimming's heyday in the DPRK. They had been going to the Olympics, I think, for about 10 years at this point, and the World Aquatic, you know, regional competitions and things like that. They were never really world elite, but I think what stands out about it is not really this like pair duet type of thing. It's really towards the end when they just have this huge amount of swimmers all on at the same time. It's kind of like the Arirang Mass Games principle where you just have so many swimmers. And I'll try to post the circus, the ice skating, and the swimming all kind of in separate videos just with the original audio so you guys can kind of appreciate it more. But for now, I'm kind of just showing it off. And so I think this was when we went up to bow to the Kim Il-sung statue. As you can see at the very far right, there's a woman who has a mic on her, and she's telling them about the bowing, like, oh, we're, paying respect to Kim Jong Il, whatever, and so many flowers. I mean, just an insane amount of flowers were grown for this. And at the time, you still had Marx. At the time, you still had Lenin, and you still had Marx up there on Kim Il Sung Square. And that's about the Songun Revolution in the military. That's Ilshim again. This kind of the oneness. That's the Juche Tower, which you can go up. So yeah, as you can tell by the flowers in the background, they actually did host the parade. I think I put this video on YouTube somewhere on another channel, but I'm not sure if I'll leave it up because I know that putting any kind of DPRK propaganda on YouTube can get your channel taken down. But since this has my commentary over it, I think it's fair use and fine. This is kind of what Kim Jong Un was doing. He wasn't at any of the events that we were at. He was at this parade. So yeah, there is an image of the very young and still somewhat slim Kim Jong Un, and so this is just basically literally me recording state TV with my camera when I wasn't in the room. So then you've got the three revolutionary generals. You've got Kim Jong Il, Kim Jong Suk, and Kim Jong Il. This is Kaesong, I believe, actually. So that's the Immortal Tower, which is at all the towns, and the proper town of Kaesong is a little bit separated from where we were, but there you can see Kaesong. It's the historical capital. It's right on the border. They had this Chongchun Hotel, and we were originally going to stay there for a day, but apparently like the heating wasn't working and the facilities just weren't good enough, so we decided not to. We went back to Pyongyang that day. This is, I think, kind of the part of like the historical capital type of experience. I think that this is the Buddhist temple that we went to. Yeah, this is the Buddhist temple. It's kind of there to show like, oh, we do have freedom of religion. It's also kind of got a big historical purpose. I think that the religion in the DPRK is limited to a very elite few that can practice it openly, and then those who can't go to churches or temples like this, they just tend to kind of do traditional things on their own. I mean, like, I do believe that is a Buddhist monk. He's just one of the few that's allowed to practice openly and everything like that. He was saying like, oh, there's people from all over the world that come to this Buddhist temple. So yeah, it's things like that. It was interesting to see a Buddhist temple in the DPRK. Now this is a hike we took. All of the waterfalls were frozen solid. It was actually quite a dangerous hike because I was only wearing basketball shoes at the time. I was a big basketball fan, and it was very slippery. The most remarkable thing is that they carved things into the rocks. So like, it would be like Kim Il-sung saying, a speech by Kim Il-sung or something like that. And this was during the 70s, so it was really at the height of the DPRK's dictatorship, and they carved all of these sayings into the rocks so that like even when you're out on a hike, the politics follows you. Things cannot be apolitical in the DPRK is kind of the big impression that you get from this. I mean, just amazing just how hardcore it is. And the frozen waterfalls were also beautiful and cool to see. So this is the film set. This is really, I don't know if they still have it, but you recognize a lot of the locations from DPRK films. I think that this is the Chinese street. This is the traditional Korean village street. And so they've just got so many different sets. And in a little bit you will see the set for Seoul. I think this is the colonial era. So if anything was during the colonial era, it would be set here. And then they have this, but this lower part was repurposed to be modern, I'm fairly sure, because you can see this is just kind of modern propaganda. And so if you're kind of wondering, this is just like workers of the Songun era, or the three revolution the three revolutionary flags, honorary, registered people. So it's just kind of like giving honors to those who worked really well. But I think it was made for a movie. I don't think that they that there was actual work going on in there. And so yeah, this is kind of what they recreated to look like a Korea during the Japanese occupation, and it's fairly accurate. There was lots of Hanja, there was lots of Japanese language, and usually they depict this in kind of more of a negative light, obviously because the Japanese Empire occupying the Korean Peninsula was one of the travesties of humanity. I can't read Japanese yet, unfortunately, so I can't say much about what's depicted. I think that this is like another colonialist era building. This one was kind of off to the side. This is like a restaurant, like moving. And I think this is Seoul at this point, or no, it's still Japanese. Yeah, like there's a grill. This is more like what Seoul would have been like maybe in like the 1960s, 1970s, and by the time that we were there in 2012, the whole thing felt very, very dated. But I think that they were using it in motion pictures and movies up until the 90s. Even they would just kind of repurpose it to whatever specific era that they felt like. But it's kind of interesting how they're showing this to be the ROK, because they can't really have it be too modern, right? Because if it's too modern, then people will be like, wow, DPRK, or ROK, they're so rich, it's so great. So they kind of have to tone it down a little bit and kind of show it more so how it was in the past when things were less competitive. This is strange because this is, I think, male prostitution, an ad for male prostitution. So, yeah. That obviously doesn't exist in the ROK, so it was a little bit trumped up. And they had some ads for like really old motion pictures. I think that these are real. And more motion pictures ads for, and then, like the United Artists is not spelled correctly. I think whoever wrote that didn't have a very good source image. And then there were lots of Chinese tourists there who were dressing up. I think you were able to, if you wanted to, you could dress up like a king or a queen and take a picture in front of it. It was very cool. And so here is the Pueblo. This is the captured U.S. Army. They call it the spy ship. It's really just, it's not super impressive. I don't know if I would like recommend it. Now it's next to they moved it. It's not in this location anymore. Now it's next to the Fatherland Liberation War Museum. As you can see, there's a bunch of people doing ice fishing, actually, in the middle of the river. I think a lot of people enjoy, a lot of people, especially retired people, enjoy fishing in the DPRK. This is where the bullet holes were from the battles on the Pueblo, so they make sure to show that. It was really cramped in there, so you really couldn't get a good shot of a lot of things. And then, but like there's where the beds were. This is the like the confession that they wrote. There's a life ring. It's not super interesting. It's just an old U.S. spy ship, and then you see some old books in there. It is what it is. I think a lot of people. I had to go there twice. I went there on the second tour I took. So there's a torpedo. This was one of the rare times we got to kind of go for a walk in Pyongyang, but it was really, really central area, really clean, sanitized. I think the Pyongyang Foreign Languages bookstore might be around this area, but as you can see, Kim Il-sung Square is like right behind us, or right in front of us. So there's really not much of a, it's not super remarkable. So there was a huge amount of soldiers there in the middle of Pyongyang Square, or Kim Il-sung Square, as you can see on the left, but I wasn't supposed to film any soldiers, so I tried not to do that. And then again, more roller skating. So yeah, there's more roller skating. It was really popular. And I think they were building roller skating parks and things like that. And then, children just enjoying the day. It was cool to see these slice of life instances going on. And then again, yeah, more roller skating. Just way more than you thought that there would be. So this was in a park nearby. I think it's Moranbong Hill. This is something about Kim Chek and like innovative students who are doing really well. This is Kim Chek Industrial University. I don't know why it was in the park. It might be nearby. I'm not exactly sure of its location. And then this is like the birthday of the great leader. The 100th anniversary of the birthday of the great leader is only 52 days away. Have you been planning today, comrades? So, later that year it was the birthday of Kim Il-sung, I think that July. And there is a statue. I think that this is some sort of concert hall. I mean, that seems to be what it's indicating, right? And there was lots of construction going on. There was constructing monuments you could kind of see. That was a cookie that one of the men on the tours gave to me. This is inside of a school. As you can see, like this is model students. I think that they even post grades in the hallway, but this is just a model student thing. I've seen other photographs from professors of mine who went into schools and saw that they were posting grades of certain students just openly for everybody to see. And yeah, just lots of information that you see that the children get to see. Like this is the history of the school, I believe. And of course the pictures of the leaders are above every classroom watching over you. This is kind of some of the book that I got to peruse through. And so there's so much information to kind of sit here and unpack. And I mean, I can't really just sit there and go image by image and say like, oh, this was this was that. It's just really, it's just too much, honestly. There's kind of more of another classroom. This was interesting because they had these taxidermied animals. I think this was really kind of a model school. And then they performed a concert for us, which was, we were all like, oh, you guys had to come in on your day off. Oh, thank you so much for coming and giving us this concert. It was fun. It was fun to kind of see more of a local school, like, give something so personal. So they would play accordions. And there was a girl singing, there was lots of dancing, and then, which I thought was very cool at the time, was a bass guitar. Like, there were people with the drums and the guitars, and I was like, that's pretty cool. And so this is a department store, I believe. I think I wasn't supposed to film here, so it was a little bit surreptitious, but lots of books. Yeah, I'm really just kind of sneaking a film in the department store. It's just, I mean, it's a department store. I mean, what do you expect? They're selling products. They've got products. Wow. Yeah. And lots of different liquors and things like that, and you can barely even tell what any of it is. As I just kind of rocking through so fast, but at the time I was like, oh, look, cool, I got footage of a DPRK department store, wow. They're selling things. There's a construction site outside. Concrete is just everywhere. It was very bland. This is the Pyongyang Golden Lane. This is the, or they call it the Pyongyang bowling place. In English it's the Golden Lane, but then in Korean it's just like bowling house or place. And so what was coolest about this, they have pools and everything, pool tables and everything like that. But for me, a big fan of video games, and they've got slot machines. They had like 3 super cool imported games. So like on the left, you've got Cyber Cycles. which is like a full-body motorcycle racing game. In the center, they have Daytona USA, which is one of my absolute favorites. And I'll bring out the mouse here. As you can see, on Daytona USA, they marked out the USA. So it's literally just Daytona and then like blank because they didn't want USA to be in it. Even though it's a Japanese game. And then on the right, you can't read it very well, but it's Chase HQ, which is a classic and a lot of people really enjoy it. They actually had some, nowadays they just import ones from China, and I don't think that the arcades from China really have that same level of quality control for to show like a good game. Like the Japanese games back in the 90s and 2000s did. But these are three, those who went to Pyongyang Golden Lane got three really good full-body arcade games. And Daytona USA is one of my absolute favorites. It was really innovative for the time in terms of what it was able to do as a racing game. Just stunning graphics, stunning music. Big fan of Takenobu Mitsuyoshi, the man did the music for that game. So to me, be able to see that in Pyongyang really touched my heart. It was really cool that even there, some of the kids get to experience some of the best that video gaming has to offer. And so this is a television. Now, this is the closing of television. And what's cool about this is, like, this is State Central TV. It's just this central station. She already said, like, okay, this is the end of the broadcast day, blah, 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 blah. And you think, okay, there's no more television, right? But at the hotel, like, without missing a beat, they don't even close the channel. They just they start going into an ad for the hotel. And I think this will be posted on YouTube as well, but this is literally just an ad for the hotel that they'll play for it. So like if you're in the hotel, you get more television than people who just have normal television. And now that is a cool logo. That is super, super cool. I love everything about that. And then beyond that, they also would show, like, this is so like this is a television drama. So they would actually show a television drama right after that ad for the hotel. So the hotel, you got television all night basically. Here you have, and like there's so many television dramas to keep up with. I forgot which one that was, but this is I think on the way to Kaesong. We are going through the countryside, so you kind of get to see the stark contrast. I mean, the countryside is just so different from Pyongyang. It's not as showy, it's a lot more real. I mean, there's less wealth. I mean, that kind of goes true for everywhere in the world. There's less wealth in the countryside than there is for the capital, but the contrast in the DPRK is really a lot more severe. And it's winter, so it's really not colorful. I mean, Korea gets super drab and gray during the winter, but it's very bright and colorful during the spring and the summer. And so this is roadside stop, and this place really reminded me of actually the world's biggest McDonald's in Vinita, Oklahoma, where they actually have a McDonald's going across the highway, but here it's a rest stop going across the highway in the DPRK, and there's a Jeep going by. There's very little traffic at the time. When I went in 2017, there was more, but at this time it was really deserted in the countryside. And I think I snuck, I snuck a little bit of footage of the shop. There's always a shop just selling some snacks and things like that. And more pictures of Kim Jong Il on the wall, and there's the area for you to rest. This is a nice rest stop. Outside, you could even walk on the highway because there was just so little traffic. I mean, people were even pedaling bicycles along the highway. You could tell that and people were maintaining the grounds. But yeah, bicycles are a way for people to get around in the countryside. And so this is the DMZ. I think the DMZ is like one of the most boring places in the DPRK, honestly. I mean, once you've seen it, you've seen it. It's remarkable just in that, like, the countries are like hermetically sealed off from each other by this huge military line. But you know, they'll give you the story of like how it's sealed and the war, and then this is where they like negotiated the treaty for the Korean War. They've got like huge like museum parts of it that like nobody could really read on the tour because it's all in Korean. I mean, I could now, but you know, I haven't really like bothered to go through the footage and frame stop it every time I see something, because you know, they're gonna. I you know, because I've already read about it, so it's not like anything new to me what they're depicting here. And it goes all the way up to the present time when they built this monument. Like this monument, I think, was built with the last signature of Kim Il-sung, and it's a monument to reunification. And so yeah, there's the DMZ. There it is. You've got the meeting house in the center. You were even able to see some soldiers on the other side, but generally the ROK soldiers would not be out when the DPRK soldiers were out, and then the DPRK soldiers would not be out when the ROK soldiers were out. So it was, I think this was during the beginning of the Park Geun-hye administration, so the ROK really started to be a lot more hostile towards the DPRK. And there's all the UN nations that kind of maintain Panmunjom there. Yeah. And I mean, that's really all there is to say about this place. I mean, it's historic, it's kind of interesting, but really it's not my thing. Oh yeah, and then there's some ROK soldiers, I believe I was able to see over the border, so that was cool. I've never been from the ROK side, but I've heard that the ROK side, they're a lot more strict. I mean, the DPRK side just kind of felt like we were hanging out. There was barely any restriction, but in the ROK, it was really, like, I've heard that they really, like, tell you, like, you know, don't wear dirty clothes, like, look nice, you know, this is very serious, and they give you all this propaganda, whereas, like, here it was just like, here's the story of this place. I mean, it's still a military installation, but and it's a lot more relaxed on the DPRK side, from what I know. Here's more of just the more of the countryside. There's people walking through in a town. Not much to say about that. Houses, you know, all the houses along the highway seem to be really well maintained. I mean, you can tell that they're not like living in the lap of luxury out here, but I mean, you know, there's a power station and things like that, so it's still they're still developed. I think that it's kind of intentional that they wouldn't take the highway along a lot of like poor areas. But I mean, this is really how people in the DPRK live. I mean, they live in these towns, they live in these big blocks of flats. So they're almost kind of like Khrushchevka in the DPRK, you know, these big 5-story like flat blocks of flats. And they also kind of try to paint them colors and things like that. So this is Kaesong. I think we went back to Kaesong again. We like literally went all the way back to Pyongyang, and then we came all the way back out to Kaesong, because I think that was like the original plan was to stay in Kaesong. But yeah, so you know, Kaesong, it's got development. You can see it used to be the capital of the Koryo dynasty back hundreds of years ago. So this is the museum that they have in Kaesong. It's really about the Koryo dynasty. If you know anything about like Korean history, Koryo was, I think there was Gochoseon. I think that united all of the Korean peninsula. Then it split up again, and then there were several kingdoms. And then there was a kingdom called Koryo, and they took over the other two kingdoms, and it was led by this, founded by this guy named Wangon. And I've actually read a DPRK novel about the founder of the first of the Koryo dynasty, who kind of took over everything. And Koryo was really more so based in the northern part of the peninsula, so that's where the DPRK kind of latches onto for their long-term identity. And they always talk about how Koryo was great, but then the successor state which existed, but then Koryo broke up, and it was replaced by Joseon, which was made by Lee Sang-ge. I forgot what, I think it was Taedong or something, but Lee Sang-ge was his name, and Then there was the Joseon dynasty, and then it was taken over by the Japanese. So like for a few hundred years, like hundreds and hundreds of years ago, Koryo owned everything, and their capital was Songak, which nowadays is Kaesong. So this is the place that you're seeing. So this is really how the DPRK kind of depicts their history. They're like, back in the day, there was actually a powerful nation that had their capital here in Kaesong historically, but then I think it moved to Seoul when the Joseon dynasty came in, or the most recent dynasty before the Japanese. So you have the Koryo, which was ruled from the north here in Kaesong hundreds of years ago. Then you go to Joseon, which was ruled in Seoul up until about 120 years ago. Then it was ruled by the Japanese, and then you have the divided Korea like you see today, just kind of a crash course of Korean history for those of you who might not know. And this is interesting because this is movable type. This is type that existed before the Gutenberg press, which we all know in the West really enabled books to be printed, like manufactured instead of written by hand. So they were actually doing this in Korea way back in the day, which is very cool to see. And that is legitimate. They have this in the ROK museums as well. And in the ROK Museum, they actually reference that movable type is there in the DPRK Museum. Anyway, this is the Monument to Reunification, which was bombed and destroyed when the DPRK changed their policy. But at least I got to see it while it existed, so to speak. There's an ad. This says like gather the nation's power and go to the world. So this is actually an ad. This is not propaganda. This is an ad for Pyonghwa Motors of automobiles. I mean, a lot of them are basically Hyundai motors, I think, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But that was with the Kaesong, the Kaesong complex. Okay, so this is really interesting because this is a bus here from Kaesong. This is not a DPRK bus. You could see by the font, literally on the front of it, that it seems to be it is a ROK bus. Like this is a bus from the ROK. It says Kaesong Gongop Jigu Gwari Wiwonhae. So it's like the Kaesong Industrial Zone Management Committee. So. But I don't know what it was doing outside of the industrial complex. I don't think that the industrial complex was there. So I don't know if it was stolen. I think the Kaesong Industrial Complex was still operating at that time. The Kaesong Industrial Complex was an area where workers from the ROK came, and companies from the ROK invested in a very special zone, kind of on the border zone, and it was eventually stopped during the Park Geun-hye administration. But at this time, it was still operating. So it was just kind of interesting to see a bus from this ROK South Korean zone, which I didn't realize at the time. I mean, I only saw it now going through all this footage. But it's interesting to see a bus from this ROK zone here in the middle of the DPRK. And there's a village kind of in the vicinity of the DMZ, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. And so here is the Pyongyang Railway Station. This is an iconic place. You'll see it in lots of motion pictures, because the train is slow. It takes multiple days to get through the country, unlike the KTX in the south, which just takes a couple of hours. But part of our tour went away on this train, while some of us stayed behind in Pyongyang and saw a few more sites and then left with an airplane. But on this, I think U.S. citizens are not allowed to go on the train. I think Japanese citizens may have also not been allowed to go on the train. So that was kind of some sort of weird restriction that they had. But it was really emotional for a lot of people because they wouldn't be seeing the people who were leaving on this train for quite a while. So very famous, very cool to be kind of at this place. And this is the Museum of Industry, and for lack of a better term, this place is absolutely overwhelming. I mean, there is just so much to look at here. I I can't communicate enough just how you like there's just so much information. I have so much footage of all of these models of things that I don't understand and never will understand. I mean, I'm not a technically oriented person. I'm very much more a culture study person, but this kind of just shows, like the industrial might of the country. And Kim Il-sung, the first leader, always loved to emphasize heavy industry over agriculture and over light industry. So this was really a big showcasing of the might of the nation. And yeah, I mean, you could really just kind of sit here and look all day at the mines that they had. I mean, there's just exhibits. It's this huge hall, and there's all sorts of like mining, like heavy machinery, smelting. I mean, you name it, they had it here, and it was all explained. Even like big shipping section, model ships everywhere. Just this place is, and CNC, which was a big, they actually made a song about it. It was like CNC, and they actually showed you CNC in action. And this is computer numerical control. It's something about like cutting out steel parts with a computer. And there's actually, it's advertised in the South too. If you go into any industrial zones, there will be signs that say CNC. So it's not just a DPRK thing, but this was some of the last. These were some of the last This was the last instruction given by Kim Il-sung, and they had a video of it. You can find that on YouTube if you're ever curious about what he was saying. The last instruction he gave before he died. Here we have like more light industry goods. We have like furniture. We have like clothing. We have just and then there's the peach drink I was drinking earlier. All of the beers I think you see there. Just a huge amount of products. I mean, just literally everything they manufacture was just here on display. It's something that I had never really seen before, anything like this. So it really captured my imagination. Just to see all of these products kind of like displayed, like look at what we can make. Yes, Korean food products. Tableware, dishes, suits, uniforms for the children, joseonots. They've got it all. They even make compact discs. And then, they've got all this information about it. They toys for the children. I mean, you're just walking through, and it's hard to really take in everything because it's so overwhelming. Like the amount of things that are here. Just looking at it kind of exhausts me. I mean, this was the last day of the trip. A lot of the fellow tourists were hungover. I did not drink at that time, but you can just imagine you're hungover, and you just had this huge party last night, and then you're walking here through this this industrial museum. It was quite the sight. Oh, there's the Flower Girl. The film production also even was emphasized. Just really overwhelming. The karaoke machines, or nore, and then the products that they sell. Like this is almost like an ad for a company. I mean, they do have companies in the DPRK, and there's a computer. They have computers as well. That was pretty modern for the time period. Taekwondo. They actually had sporting equipment. They showed all of the sporting equipments that they make. And they also had some sporting heroes and photographs of them. They made basketballs, a huge football, as you can see here. Olympic. There's an image of the table tennis queen. Park Yong-sun. Then lots of different medals that they manufacture, lots of different sporting heroes that they've had over the years. And so this is a photograph from like the fourth Asia gymnastics championship. But yeah, and then there's Kim Il-sung sitting at the center by Baekdu-san. So it's kind of a shame we didn't. And I think that this is by the People's Study House. This was the last place we went on the tour, was the Grand People's Study House, which was very cool. People, I think, were looking things up in the library there. It's very grandiose. And so you can see there's lots of people like actually doing studying there. It's not just a place for show. People were there working, studying. I don't know, for exams or for leisure or what. And you can see the pictures of the leaders were there. There's just rows and rows of books. I mean, I would kill to be able to go there nowadays and look through all of the sporting materials that they had. But, see, even soldiers were studying. I don't know what kind of clearance you need to go there, or if you need one at all. I assume that none of the dangerous books are there. But as you can see, it's like these are new books that they have coming in the library, and where you can get them. So it's like Amongst the People, like the bright Juche era, and then like a song. It was some sort of song. So and you could see the map of the place that they had electronically. It was all very and then worldwide literatures, like a digest of world literature. Books would come through in a little metal tub on this track, which was very cool to see. And they were just kind of showing like, oh look, we've got foreign books. And most of the foreign books, I mean, they're either like old stories or they're like technical manuals. So like their big book of science and science activities, food and nutrition. It's really really like dry stuff that's like not ideologically threatening in any way, really. Like here, alto cumulus. Here's stuff about plants. Finding the North Star. As a donation from McGraw-Hill. Wow. Okay. And so here's another computer room. Someone was over there watching a video. They've got like a huge amount of CDRs on the shelf. I don't know why none of them had like end labels. They were probably sorted in some fashion. Here is the actually the internal search system within the library, so you could search for whatever you wanted. I think one of the more interesting moments. So this is the intranet. Or I don't know if it's the intranet necessarily, but this says searching for books. I really would love to go back in time and be able to mess around on one of these computers just to see what I would be able to find. But this is the People's Study House, where you look for things, and it has a quote from Kim Jong Il on it. And so it was in Internet Explorer, and as you can see, it's like an internal server. Everything is on a internal server, so it's not connected to the internet. But if you try to type in the website for the Netherlands, it was a gentleman from the Netherlands, and you hit enter, and guess what happens? Oh, the page cannot be displayed. It is not hooked up to the internet. They do not have connection to the internet, unsurprisingly, but interesting to see. These were some new Dells at the time. This is 2012, so it was very well equipped. You could tell it was like a model for the country. But some rooms were older as well. This was like a foreign language learning room where you would take tapes in. I don't know why they weren't displaying anything on the television but Hitachi. But as you can see, there's like a tape deck built in to the table, and you would just kind of sit there, I think, with headphones, and you could kind of listen to phrases and learn things by rote there. And then they played some music for us. I think this was country's greatest hits. They had some Madonna. I don't know why they had Madonna. And so they were just showing us the. I think people would listen to them with headphones there. There's some more computer equipment and things like that. This is 2012, so the tube TVs were still around back then. I'd be curious to see how it looks nowadays. Dewey Decimal System or something like that. Where you could look things up manually. The pictures of the leaders are everywhere, and nice views. This is more from inside, and then we went outside as the tour was ending. We went outside and we saw Kim Il-sung Square again. It was nice to kind of see one final time before the tour ended. It was about a week that we had spent there. And so that is the revolutionary, Baekdu revolutionary mindset. Oh yeah, and kind of the last view of just more of a busy area of Pyongyang, lots of shops. Yeah, one of the cooler things I remember seeing is how these people were singing for a group of people in the park. They all appeared to be older. It might be like retired soldiers or something like that, but you can see that they're holding an accordion, and they use accordions in lots of propaganda music because it's portable and easy to bring with you. So unlike, you can't like bring a piano with you or anything like that. So the accordion was a big part of DPRK and DPRK propaganda music. And so that's Juche Tower. We left Pyongyang, and this is in the plain. Now, this was one of the images that really stuck with me at the time because people are working in a construction site nearby. If there's lots of those red flags, it means that they're doing construction in the area. And it was just so cold, and it was so bad looking. And there were people out there. You could see, like in the upper part, they're huddled around fires for warmth. And now I kind of understand, like, yeah, it was a mass construction effort. They were probably trying to get the water out of the area, or like they might have been constructing the new airport. I'm really not sure. But like at the time, it was just really kind of like chilling to see everybody kind of out there in the cold, working in such tough conditions. But yeah, so I mean, that was kind of the last thing I saw before the plane took off. It was a very muggy day. And I went back to Beijing, and the first thing I did was to go eat Pizza Hut, because I was still very Western at that time, and I was not adjusted to the Eastern food, and I was like, please give me something Western. But yeah, that was my very first trip to Pyongyang. I hope that everybody watching enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something, and I did take one more trip after this in 2017, so we can kind of I don't have video footage, but I have lots of pictures from the time. So hopefully I can get some pictures to you from that time. It was 3 weeks instead of 1 week. I actually got to study some of the DPRK dialect while I was there, and go to Kim Hyung-jik Sabondehak, or Kim Hyung-jik University of Education. So it was a lot more of an interesting trip, I think, than this one. This one's kind of more interesting for the era, and that it was my first time. But I hope you enjoyed kind of getting to see what I saw, and kind of my insights into what I saw at the time. Yeah, I mean, it was a really marvelous experience. Looking back on it, I think it was really important to kind of getting me interested in it, and kind of putting me on a career track. That's something that I was really passionate about learning about. But like, things have really changed since this era. So it's important to kind of go back like 13 years ago and just kind of see like what it was really like, and kind of how things have changed. I think and it was interesting because it was like this time of hope where people thought like the country is really going to open up after this. Like, we're going to have more foreign influences, we're going to have more freedom of movement, we're going to see a lot more income into the country. But None of that ever really ended up happening. I mean, the new leader came in, and he was just as draconian in many ways as his father and grandfather were, and the cycle just kind of continued on itself. So it was a little bit disappointing, but I think that when you see my 2017 trip, which I will post soon, you'll kind of see how it did feel like it was opening up a bit, but then like that was the hard wall, and then like diplomacy with the ROK that went south. And then after the diplomacy with the ROK went south, COVID happened, and the DPRK really regressed into kind of becoming only friendly with China or Russia, depending on how they felt like, and the whole country was basically sealed off. That was my trip to the DPRK in 2012. Stay with DPRK Athletics for more for my 2017 trip, which I will also post. I'll try to post the videos of the ice skating, the circus, and the artistic swimming. Stay with DPRK Athletics for more athletics and DPRK videos. So that's it for now, and we'll see you later. My name is Yanggakdo Hotel, and this was DPRK Athletics. 안녕히 계십시오.